guys, it's Adria, and for today's storytime video, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a bit of a rant, bit of a story time about my crazy neighbor. Alright, let's just get started. So, I've been living in my apartment that I'm in now for over 2 years now. Everything was fine here until this neighbor moved in. I like all of my neighbors here. Brandon and I, we don't live in the nicest of neighborhoods. We really don't. It's not that super elegant and nice, hence why I don't do room tours and an updated apartment tour, because it's just But about a year ago we had a new neighbor move in. Right off the bat, just trouble, okay? So really the first red flag was that there was always arguing going on at their apartment. Now they don't live right next door to us, but they live close enough to us that it's a disturbance, but they would always be arguing, and it was so loud that we could hear it from in here. With all the doors and windows closed, we could hear them, and they would always take their fighting outside for some reason. Why would you take your fighting outside? I don't know. By the way, the fights were between her and her boyfriend. How could I forget to say that? I get it, sometimes you fight with the people you live with. I would always be yelling at my mom, I get it, girl, but why would you go outside? You know what I mean? It carried on for months. Almost every day, if not every other day, a few times a week, they were yelling at each other, and I debated calling the police, but I didn't want to get involved. I was scared, and that's really why I held off on making this video in the first place, was because I don't know what they do. I wouldn't want them to somehow find this video and then come over here and kill me. You know what I mean? When you make stories about other people, it's you don't want them to retaliate. I didn't call the cops or anything, which I probably should have. If anything like that ever happens again with neighbors, I will definitely call the cops. Also, the fights didn't last that long, so I felt as soon as I would call the cops, it would just be over. Their fights would maybe last 5 minutes, and then it would just be quiet. Ring. Nobody died. It was just crazy. And then one day I saw a really bad fight. I would just peek out of my blinds and just kind of watch, because it would just be so loud. I would know when it was happening. I would peek out of the blinds, and one day I just saw the guy just hit her across the face, and I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? And she was crying, and it was so messed up. So not too long after that, the police did end up coming, and apparently her boyfriend got arrested. And how I know this, and how I know he was in jail, one day I was outside waiting for a ride to go to work. She was standing outside with her puppy. We'll also get into the puppy in a minute. She was kind of apologizing. That made me feel bad, and I was just no, it's fine. And she was saying, I'm just glad that he's finally in jail. I'm like, okay, okay. But girl, not too long after that, he did come back. What? I don't know, but I remember seeing him not too long after that, but I haven't seen him in a very long time. She probably dumped him. He would always come back, and there was a few times we would see him sleeping outside. He would sleep on her porch, on a bench. Brandon and I would come home from the movies or something late at night, and he would just be sleeping out there. We soon became suspicious that perhaps she was a drug dealer. She's either a prostitute or a drug dealer or something, because there is a lot of suspicious activity that goes on there. And I know it's not right to just make assumptions, and I'm not one to just assume things about somebody, just take one look at someone and say oh, she's a drug dealer. Oh, she must be a prostitute. No, but there is a lot of things that only makes sense. First of all, probably the biggest red flag is that almost every Friday, okay, there are expensive cars parked in our parking lot. In front of her apartment, okay? I'm talking Escalades, BMWs, sports cars, just parked out right in front of her apartment, okay? On the weekends, on Fridays, when people get paid. And I know that these people don't live here, okay? You know how you kind of learn the cars of your neighbors, you know what I mean? You recognize a car that isn't usually there. I'm like, why is there a super nice car parked in this dingy neighborhood? That's what I'm wondering. That's suspicious. Why is there an Escalade parked in front of my neighbor's house? That's really suspicious, don't you think? And a lot of these cars had tinted out windows. I don't know, just none of it looked right, okay? And I was talking to my brother the last time I saw him, and he was saying how his neighbor was a drug dealer. And I hadn't told him anything about my neighbor. I don't even think he knew that I thought my neighbor was a drug dealer. And he was saying oh yeah, there's always these super expensive nice cars parked around our house. house, and you know, there's all these people we don't recognize always there. They just come in like groups one after the other and they don't stay very long, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what happens here, okay? There's just people that'll just come and go. They'll knock on the door and like they'll wait for her to answer. Like, I don't know about you, when I'm going over to somebody's house and I know them, I'll be like, hey, like I'm almost here, let me in, you know what I mean? I don't know, like it just all around, another thing is that there's a smell that comes from her house, like the smell of chemicals, okay? I don't know if she just cleans all the time. Well, I do know that she cleans all the time. We haven't gotten into that, but it smells like chemicals. And I've seen inside of her house, like I know, like that sounds creepy, but yeah, like sometimes you just walk by somebody's house and you can just kind of see the inside of their house through their window. Like not like I'm like peeking in, you know, but I would just walk by, her blinds would be pulled up, and you know, you can just kind of see in. Her house has no rhyme or reason to it. There's no like furniture, like it's not decorated. It looks like a storage unit. There's just stuff everywhere, okay? And like I have a bike in my living room, like I get it. I know like these apartments are small, you don't have room for everything, whatever, but it wasn't even like that from what I've seen. Obviously I've never been inside of it, but there's just stuff everywhere. And some of you guys might know the stray cat that Brandon and I take care of, Frida. So Frida's been outside lately, and you know, Frida doesn't love being held, but like when I pick her up or Brandon picks her up, like she doesn't hate it. Although she did claw me on my boob once and leave a scar there. Yeah. But for the most part, Frida, she's fine, whatever. So we saw the neighbor holding Frida, and Frida just like tore her up. Did not want to be held by her. I don't know about you guys, but when animals don't like people, we shouldn't like them either. You feel me? Now on to her car. In the year that she has lived here, she has had at least 3 different cars. All like SUV type cars, okay? I don't know about you, okay? Like my mom has crashed her car a lot. Like I get it, sometimes stuff happens. But she's gone through like 2 or 3 cars in the past year. Who does that? I'm sorry. And not only that, she cleans her car all the time, okay? At least once a week, and that's being generous. At least once a week, she's out there deep cleaning that car, okay? All the doors will be open. She'll be blaring music from it, okay? She has huge speakers in her car just blaring it, and she'll just be cleaning it out, like with a vacuum, a Windex girl, like, We thought for a while maybe she was like a taxi driver or something, but she literally never leaves her apartment ever, so I don't know. Not only that, Brandon and I have come home late at night and we have seen people like gathered around her car with the front hood up. And when we pull into our parking space, they'll like turn and look at us and gathered around the hood of her car, like with flashlights looking in it. And this has happened multiple times. And I'm just like, didn't you just get that car? Like why would something be wrong with it? You know what I mean? So it's like, girl, like, are you hiding crack in the hood of your car? Like, is that what's going? It was a Friday afternoon. Brandon and I were going out somewhere. We see this guy come out of her apartment, but he had just gone in a couple minutes prior to that, and he comes out with a folded up pair of jeans, and he's like holding them like tight to himself. It looked really, like, why are you holding jeans like that, dude? So she had a puppy at one point. It was a cute little pit bull puppy, and she would just tie him up outside and just leave him out there. Girl, I just reread my lease, and that is completely against the rules, amongst other things that she does, but we'll get into that. Our apartments are very close-knit, not a lot of property, not a lot of space. To just tie up a dog outside where people walk by, it's just not something I think is very smart for the dog or for your neighbors. You know, like somebody could have easily stolen him. She would not pick up after this dog. And it got so bad that Brandon and I actually made a complaint to our management, and we don't complain about anything. I know, you guys just think, all I do is complain, but like when it comes to like making a complaint, like I'm not the can I speak to a manager person. I'm not that person. I bring all my problems to YouTube. That's what it seems to be good for. So I wrote a note, took it to the office, gave it to them, saying like, hey, she doesn't clean up after her dog. Because guess what had happened? Brandon and I, after we had gone to the grocery store, come back, stepped in dog poop and brought it into our apartment. Trudged it in here. I don't know about you, but when I don't have a dog, I don't want to be stepping in dog poop. If it's my dog, you know, like, oh, it happens. Clean up after your dog. Up to this point, you may be kind of skeptical. You may be like, wow, you're just being really judgmental. I saw her hit this dog. Hit a puppy. She picked him up by the scruff, whacked him. If you didn't think she was a bad neighbor before, there you go. There's the little whipped cream on top of your pumpkin pie, because why would you hit a puppy? Not too long after that, she did end up getting rid of him. Did she tell me? I think I was outside and she told me. So hopefully that puppy ended up somewhere with people that will take care of him. I can only hope. So, another thing. One day Brandon was going to work. He had to go in early. He was leaving the house at 5 in the morning. He goes outside and she is trying to break in to her own apartment at 5 in the morning. Okay, sometimes you lose your key, you get locked out. It happens, I've gotten locked out, but here's what she said to him. He walks by and she looks at him and she says, have you ever locked yourself out before? And he's like, oh, well, you could probably go to the office, they probably have a spare key. Oh, well, I changed the lock on my door, so that won't really help me. Why would you change the lock on your apartment door? In our lease, it says that we're not allowed to change the locks on our doors, because in case, I don't know, someone has to get in here for whatever reason, like, we don't own this. I can't lock them out of this. Although an employee did get fired from here because he would barge in here. Okay, one time he barged in here when I was in the bathroom. But that's a whole nother thing. She changed the lock on the doors. Although now thinking about it, maybe she changed the locks on the doors because maybe her crazy ex-boyfriend still had his key. Maybe, but even still. So Brandon and I had to go to our office to talk about our lease, talk about renewing our lease because our lease was up, and so we wanted to get like a smaller monthly thing because we want to move. Brandon said to them, so Brandon said to the guy in the office, he was like, well, our neighbor, we want to leave because he said, quote unquote, we think she's on crack. And the look on this guy's face, he just went like this. He went, he didn't look shocked, and he said, she isn't out yet. They know what's up. Because one time I saw one of the people that works in my apartment building, because my neighbor, another thing, she would park her car in the grass, like completely blocking the way. Like, I would have to take my bike to go to work. I would have to go completely around the entire apartment building to get out of here, because she would just be parked in the grass, blocking my exit. So I saw one apartment employee ask her to not park there ever again, because I was on my way to work, I was outside, I saw her walk up and say, hey, don't park in the grass anymore, and she's like, oh, okay. She still does it to this day. This was like a year ago. Still does it. The apartment dude, he's like, well, listen, since you guys want to move, how about we find out if she's renewing her lease or not, and maybe that'll change your decision to, like, he knows. And so today I get a knock on the door. It's an apartment manager employee person, and she tells me, oh, she isn't renewing her lease. She'll be gone by the end of the month. I was like, well, isn't this lovely? So now I can make this video knowing that she won't kill me. Oh my gosh, another thing. Okay, I just have to rant about this real quick. Yesterday, I was gonna go out riding my bike to hatch my Pokemon eggs, right? And so I'm pulling my bike out the front door. It's so hard to get a bike out of a door, okay? And I'm on the phone with Brandon. I have headphones in. I have my phone. I have my bike. I'm trying to get out the door. I'm trying to get my keys to lock the door. My neighbor is outside blaring music out of her car, okay? I'm telling you, I could hear this inside with my windows closed. She had speakers in the back of her car just blaring, okay? And I'm so annoyed. And Brandon's like, what is that? Like, even Brandon could hear it, and he's in my headphones. You know when something bad happens and just everything around you makes you angry after that? Yeah, it happens. My phone dropped, and the headphones came ripping out of my ears. The music's blaring. Brandon's probably still talking to me. I have my bike. My phone cracked. God bless screen protectors, but still, it was just the whole thing. I'm talking to Brandon, I'm like, who do you think's blaring the music? Like, I was just so angry. I was just like, oh, like, who do you think's doing it? No. Oh, and I had a pizza box too. I forgot to say that. I was holding a pizza box to go throw it away in the trash. So I'm wheeling a bike, have a pizza box, have earphones in, talking to Brandon, have my cell phone, have my keys. There's music blaring from my obnoxious neighbor who will never shut up. Turn your music down, lady. As I'm walking away with my bike, I'm just like ranting to Brandon about how much I hate that neighbor. It was just kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, you know? Then, I don't see her anywhere out there. They're just like blaring the music out of her car. It's like these two guys, and I was like, who even are you? I take off on my bike, go hatch my Pokemon eggs, and as I'm riding down this little back neighborhood, that car pulls up behind me, still blaring the music. I could hear them coming down the street, okay? I'm talking to Brandon. I kind of like stop because I get to a stop sign on my bike. I turn around, I'm like, why is that car behind me? I'm in a neighborhood. Why are they back here? It's not even like I was on a road on my way to Walmart. Like, no, I was in a neighborhood. Why are they back here? And so I stop, I pull over, and I let them like go around me, and then they turn out of the neighborhood. I can see them leave the neighborhood. I'm just like, so that blaring music, okay? Like I had just dropped my phone, cracked my screen, and then that blaring music just followed me. I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I didn't even mention the one time she had a yard sale. I don't know about you guys, but when you live in an apartment complex, I don't think you should have a yard sale. Brandon and I couldn't even get to our car. We literally had to stand there and wait for them to move stuff out of the way. Cause obviously I didn't want to just go barreling through and knock all her stuff over. Like, God bless. God bless. And by the time this video is up, she won't be here anymore and I will be a happy person because my neighborhood was so much more peaceful without her in it, because I have really nice neighbors. My one neighbor, like, he knocked on my door one day and just asked if he could take my trash out. Because I had a bag of trash sitting on the porch. Like, honestly, like, the people here are fine, but she just, oh, girl. So anyway, a lot of you guys might be saying, like, oh, like, what makes her a drug dealer, though? But, like, I don't know. Like, the one time that Brandon's mom picked me up and I had been out there talking to her and she said that, like, her boyfriend got arrested. When Brandon's mom picked me up, she was like, who is that? I was like, oh, she's my neighbor. And she was like, like, she looks like she's on drugs. Like, you know when you see those before and after meth pictures? Not even in a mean way, but it's just like you see that. It's sad. But at the same time, like, I was just like, oh, I'm kind of scared. Like, I don't know. When you have strangers in your parking lot all the time, it's kind of scary. But anyway, then she had a canoe in front of her house. Like, I don't know. Like, it's crazy. Like, there would just be stuff outside. There'd be giant TVs outside, canoes, bikes, dogs just outside, strange people standing on her porch waiting for her. I've literally seen 100 different people in front of her apartment. I don't know, guys. I don't know 100% if she's a drug dealer. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time rant type deal about my neighbor who is no longer in my life, thank the Lord. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're not already. I put out videos 3 times a week. So yeah, I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs. I love you guys.